Hi, Paul Sakis, Good News Planet, and also Peace Day Party. We're going to speak about eliminating the growing problem of hateful speech and antisocial behavior in society. These are very major topics here, and by far for a good news broadcaster and someone that's been involved with the peace movement for many, many years. We're very fortunate to have her. Hi, Marian Salzman. How are you today?
Good, thank you.
Great. Marian heads the global communications at Philip Morris International, PMI, where she's helping the company to fill its mission of delivering smoke-free future. Marian is, I'll say, is a guru here for research and for looking into the behavior of why people are doing different kinds of ways of life. She has a new book coming out, The New Mega Trends, Seeing Clearly in the Age of Disruption, coming out. Congratulations in
Thank you.
2022. And they created a survey here that says, let's start it right off here. We're all seeing the growing attitudes of anger in social media and offline. So you had a survey. I hate to hear that this is so. We know it's so. We're living within it. What's happening? Why is it happening?
Well, I think the worst one for me is that 43% of people report that they encounter hateful speech, whether it's online or in person, at least once a week. So
right.
That's a pretty heavy one, and I think why is it happening? We're living in a very chaotic world. There's great uncertainty. Uncertainty engenders fear. We go back over the last 2 decades, all sorts of things have stirred up anxiety. You know, you began the millennium with Y2K, we had 9/11, the 2008 financial crisis, you've had stagnation, the decline of living standards for workers, we have shifting demographics, a global migration crisis, then you have almost 2 years of COVID-19, people on edge, increased awareness of inequities, people are being social distanced, they are living in social isolation. It became easier somehow to hate someone because you don't see them in real life, and thus there's been the rise of social media bullying, and this is all made worse by this intense, always-on media that's very, very opinionated. At the same time, when public trust is in decline, misinformation's everywhere, and people use social media to intensify and perpetuate both the divisive language, but also really their feelings of hate.
That's a heck of a mouthful.
Sorry. I didn't make that easy for you. I'm sorry.
No, it's great. It's the facts. This is the facts. This is for real. We're a broadcaster of positive, life-affirming content. We don't let anyone say anything not nice about anybody else. We have our standards and practices. We're good news. I think that that's a good way to go. And I'm a former CBS PBS. And so are there any thoughts here as a result of this survey of recommendations that companies and people can do to move beyond this hateful commentary?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the first is you can embrace dialogue. And that means really relentlessly seeking out opportunities to interact with, to dialogue with, to debate with, but to debate respectfully with those you consider the, quote, enemy. I think an openness to dialogue really goes a long way. Our survey found that 77% of Americans said that even when they strongly disagree with someone, they're more likely to consider their arguments if their opponents are open to dialogue and willing to address concerns and questions. I think we need to champion facts, and that's science, and that's using data and proof points and using them in conversations to counter the noise by those seeking to simply confuse or mislead or just broadcast hate. And then there's kind of a simple lesson that I got from my grandma. If you don't have anything nice to say, sometimes say nothing at all. And being respectful of one another, I think it starts with please and thank you. I feel so old-fashioned saying that, but I think we all need to stand in someone else's shoes. And for that reason, I won't unfriend people on Facebook or on Twitter, even when their views are so different from mine, because I want to hear what they say, and I want to try to understand why are they saying this. They must have a reason for feeling this way, and I want to crawl into their head and understand.
I happen to be on the same exact page as you. I had the same grandmother, by far, no doubt about it. I never unfriended anybody. If someone has something to say, I'm very open to have that conversation, that dialogue, and I think it's healthy. Did I hear within the research that people are sort of open for dialogue or not open for the dialogue?
No, they are. That's the part that was like the germ of good news. I mean, you wanted good, happy news. The germ of good news was that 77% of Americans say that even when they strongly disagree, please talk to me. I need to understand why you disagree. So there is an openness despite all this hate that's out there, but I don't know that we have yet concocted a language to ask questions instead of to speak with all caps and exclamation points.
Well, since you also are a PR guru, we're CEO of Havas PR, and then that seems to me like the tagline that the New York Times should have on the front page on its heading, that people are willing, even though they have different opinions, to have a discussion. Because I don't think, I think there's a little concern on that.
I think that our behaviors don't reinforce what our statistics found. I think we find people who are so set in their echo chambers and they're so battened down. But the reality is that most respectful people want to understand. They just don't really know how to start those conversations because they're hard. If I disagree with you on everything from the president to the environment to how you're raising your children, it's very hard for me to get into your head and say, but hang on, just explain to me why this way. And I think people haven't really learned how to dialogue and listen. And I think that social media has brought everything down to these very short messages. It's a very quick number of characters, and we don't necessarily stop and listen. I think our listening skills have really suffered over the last 2 decades.
Yes, I agree, 100%. You can't even, you can't understand a situation within 140 letters. I don't know why we did this to ourselves. Is there a reason? Did anything come up? Why have we put ourselves into this? I know the situations that have occurred have been quite serious, but how do you think, and why do you think we've turned around? I mean, I took manners, I think, in high school, classes. Home ec. I mean,
it was like we had penmanship too. We actually had to write letters.
Why do you think it has happened? And in fact, there's so many issues. I mean, my grandkids are, they don't know whether it's just a boy or a girl. I mean, and nothing wrong with anything, but it's so convoluted that it's very difficult to know what to do. I have pity on this generation right now. I'm concerned.
I think everybody has to be concerned because I think we haven't taken the time. And time is really the new luxury item. We haven't taken the time to listen and think, and we don't read the way we used to read. There are so many. There's so many sources of information that people end up with sources that may be more biased, so their views are not formed. It's not like when I was growing up and you went to the library and you read the encyclopedia, and it was as close to accurate as you could be. Even Wikipedia is better than so many of the other sources out there, but we shorthand everything. We bring it down to Twitter length, and we're not learning to think critically and to analyze, okay, you told me that, but is it true? And we've kind of lost the sense of respecting one another and agreeing to disagree. I mean, I always say that I was a really good athlete at losing, so I had to learn to be a great sportsman, because I was going to constantly lose, and I had to learn how to go eat ice cream with the people that beat me right after the game. I don't think we've made the time to sort of perfect those skills. We've been in such a rush to get so much into our days that we lost out on some of the art of conversation and certainly the art of listening.
So as Simon and Garfunkel, slow down, we move too fast, try to make the morning last?
I think that's really accurate.
Embrace dialogue to disarm hate, acknowledging the negative, engaging for the positive. I mean, I love this stuff. So you have a beautiful website here. Tell us about it.
I think what it's really about is sharing the facts that we've learned, let people interpret them as they wish, jump into a conversation with us. Look, we're a company making a pivot. We've gone from being a cigarette company to move towards a smoke-free future. People have to accept the fact that it takes time to make a full pivot. I mean, we just wanted to start the dialogue around talk to people that you don't agree with, understand where they're coming from, get into the science, get into the facts, and show each other respect. We can agree to disagree. That's a perfectly viable outcome.
And it is tremendously wonderful that a great corporate, good, socially responsible citizen like Philip Morris is involved with this. I applaud you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for this interview, and we'll be happy to take every interview you want on this subject. Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Have a great holiday.
Okay, you as well. Bye-bye.